All right, go ahead and open up to page 311 in your student activity book. If you're not already there, go ahead and pause the video and open up to it and press play once you're ready. We are going to be learning about simplifying fractions. Well, we already learned it in the last video, but right now we're going to be practicing it. So in this problem, Maria had 12 boxes of apricots. She sold 10 of the boxes. Then Maria said that she sold 5/6 of the boxes. She made this drawing to show that 10/12 and 5/6 are equivalent fractions. And it looks like that is definitely the case. We see 1/6 here, and 2/12 are equivalent to 1/6. It looked like she just broke 1/6 in half and made it into two 1/12 pieces. Okay, do you agree that 10/12 and 5/6 are equivalent? We would say yes if you multiply 5/6 times, see how there are two pieces in each? We're going to do 2 over 2, and you get 10/12. Okay? It's also up here visually, you can see it. Okay? Maria formed groups of 12ths to get a greater unit fraction. What is that unit fraction? Groups of 12ths. So this group of 12ths, 2/12, what would that be as a unit fraction? That would be 1/6. 2/12 is the same as 1/6. How many 12ths did she put into each group? In other words, what was the group size? There were 2 pieces in each group, 2/12. How can you find the equivalent fraction? By dividing the numerator and the denominator by the group size. Okay, so over here, they had 10/12. It's like the opposite of multiplication here. They started with 10/12 and then divided it by 2 halves. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 5/6 is the same fraction as 10/12. It is just simplified. Okay? To simplify a fraction, divide the numerator and the denominator of a fraction by the same number to make an equivalent fraction made from fewer but larger unit fractions. Use what you know to simplify each fraction to make an equivalent fraction with a unit fraction of 1/6. Okay, so here we have 8/12. And this fraction right here is not simplified. So we're going to have to divide it by a fraction of 1, or the same number on the top, then on the bottom, to be a simplified fraction. So let's see, 8/12. What number can be equally divided by both of these? You could say, what's a similar factor for both of them? And just off the top of my head, I think 4 could be, here's actually something really cool. They give us a clue right here. Do we see this 6? So I have to think 12 divided by what will get me 6? 12 divided by 2, it looks like, will give me 6. So that means up here it has to be 2 as well. And so 8 divided by 2 would be 4. So 8/12 is the same as 4/6. Okay? So this right here is not the simplest form, but it is an equivalent fraction. 8/12 is equivalent to 4/6. We could further simplify this even more, but it's not asking us to, so we're going to go ahead and move on. 14/12. We're going to divide it by something to make it smaller. So right here they gave us a clue. Right here. 12 divided by what would give us 6? Oh, 2. All right, so this is going to be 2 halves. Since what you do on the bottom, you have to do on the top, since we're dividing by 1. 14 divided by 2 is 7/6. That's an improper fraction, right? 7 divided by 6. We would have 1 remaining, right? So we have 1 whole and 1 remaining on a 6. Okay, so I like how this kind of reminded us, oh, even if we still are simplifying it, our final answer has to be written in a mixed number. Okay, it's always really important to remember that. Okay, page 312, here we go. Look at the thirds bar. Circle enough unit fractions on each of the other bars to equal 1/3. So it looks like 2/6, 3/9, 4/12, 5/15, and 6/18 are all equivalent to 1/3. And it shows it right here, 1/3, 2. Oh, they even, yeah, 2/6, 3/9, 4/12, 5/15, 6/18. They're all equivalent fractions. Discuss how the parts of the fraction bars you circled show this chain of equivalent fractions. Explain how each different group of unit fractions is equivalent to 1/3. So, they are all equivalent. By that, it means it's taking up the same amount of space. The only difference is these are broken up into more pieces. But some are broken up into more pieces than others. Okay, and again, when you break them up into pieces, those are the pieces that you're multiplying. So 1/3 times 2/2 would give you 2/6. 1/3 times 3/3 would give you 3/9. 1/3 times 4/4 would give you 4/12. 1/3 times 5/5 would give you 5/15. 1/3 times 6/6 would give you 6/18. Really cool. Okay. Write the group size for each fraction in the chain of equivalent fractions. The first one is done for you. So the group size is how many are in each group. So it would be 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2. And then of course 1 is on the bottom. There's only one group size, 1/3. Okay. Complete each equation by showing how you use group size to simplify. Okay. So here we're going to simplify. We have 5/15. 15 divided by what will give us 3? Or 5 divided by what will give us 1? Well, if we divide it by 5/5, that one whole, we get 1/3. Okay. 4 divided by what would give us 1? 12 divided by what would get us 3? It looks like that would be 4/4. Our 1 that we're dividing is 4/4. 3/9, we're going to divide it by 3/3 to get 1/3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 2 divided by what will get us 1? 2. And then the bottom must be 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay. Next page. So this is kind of review, I think, from yesterday. It's kind of saying, oh, to make an equivalent fraction, we can either, if we start with 1/3, we can multiply by 5/5, and we get 5/15. We did that yesterday, finding equivalent fractions. And today, we can do the opposite. If we start with 5/15, we can find an equivalent fraction by dividing it by 5/5. And we would get 1/3. So to make a fraction to find a bigger equivalent fraction, we multiply it. To find a smaller, simpler fraction, we divide it. Okay. So in lesson 4 yesterday, you used multiplication to find equivalent fractions by moving from left to right on the multiplication table. What happens to the fractions? You know what? Just write an X on this one. And write an X on this one. I basically told you what it's going to have you do. So go ahead and skip the page. And here we're going to practice a bit more. Okay? We're on page 314. Here are 2 more rows. Okay, complete each equation. So 4/8 times, oh, it looks like we can do 4/8 times 2/2 will get us that. 4/8 times 3/3 will get us that. 4/8 times 4/4 will get us that. So, what do we want to do here? 4/8 times, do we want to do 3/3? We can do 3/3 here. As long as the top and the bottom are the same, we can do really any whole, one whole fraction, okay? So 4/8 times 3/3 would be 12/24. Number 14, 4/8 times, do we want to do 4/4? Would give us 16 30-seconds. Would be really small pieces, wouldn't it? All right, now over here, we have the dividing symbols. That means we're going to simplify this fraction. So 20 divided by something will get us 4. That would be 5. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Okay. 36 divided by what gets us 4? Let's see. 36. If I can't figure it out, 36 divided by 9. 9 ninths. Okay. 12 divided by what gets me 4? 3. And this would also be 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8, sorry. 24 divided by what would give me 4? That would be 6. And this would also be 6. Okay? Now over here, they're going to have you do 2 things. Ooh. 1/2 equals, well, how is it written with fourths? 2/4 or 4/8. Over here, we have, let's say we have 1/5 equals 2/10 or 4/20. Over here, we can say we have 1/3, which is the same as 2/6. 6 times what gets me 12? 6 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. That'd be 4/12. I'm doing like little imaginary things in my head here. That's how I got a 4 right there. Okay. And over here I did the same thing. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay. All right, over here, let's say I have 1/2 again. That would equal, that's the same as number 19, isn't it? 2/4. And 2/4 times 2 over 2 is 4/8. Okay. All right, over here we're going to simplify them. 8/10 divided by, they're both divisible by 2. We can do 2. So 2/2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay. 6/8. Those are also both divisible by 2. I'm going to do 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4. 15/40. They're both divisible by 5. 5/5. 15 divided by 5 is going to be 3. 40 divided by 5 is going to be 8. 15/40 is equivalent to 3/8. 10/12. You can divide, they're divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 8 divided by 8/12. If you do them, you could always do divided by 4 over 4. They're both divisible by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 8/12 is the same as 2/3. 2/3 is just simplified. Oh, this is a great one. You see how both of them have a 0? What that means is you can divide them both by 10. 10/10. 20 divided by 10 would give you 2. 30 divided by 10 would give you 3. 20/30 is the same as 2/3. That's a fun one. Same over here. They both have a 0 at the end. You can divide them by 10/10. 40 divided by 10 would give you 4. 100 divided by 10 would give you 10. You could even simplify that more. You could say divided by 2 over 2. 2/5 would be the simplest form. Wow, so 2/5 is equivalent to 40/100. That's cool. Okay, now 75/100. I know this is actually kind of crazy, but I think of these two numbers similar to a quarter. When you have a quarter, you can make 75 cents. You can also make $1. And a quarter is 25 cents. I know this is a little crazy here. Of course, these aren't the only numbers that you could use. You could also divide it by 5 and simplify it, but I just found this correlation on my own. So 75 divided by 25, that would be 3, and 100 divided by 25 would be 4. 75/100 is the same as 3/4. Okay. All right, 16/18 is the same thing as, looks like they're dividing it by 2 over 2 here. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And they're doing the same thing over here, divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, and that is the end of the chain. If we wanted to do the proper answer, we would make this into a mixed number. Let's say we have, I'll just make this up, 4/20 would equal 2/10, and then that would be 1/5. Over here we would have, let's say 6/12 would equal 3/6, and that would equal 1/3. Okay. Over here we'd have 4/8, and that would turn into 2/4, and then 1/2. They're all equivalent to 1/2. These are all equivalent to 1/3. Oh wait, hang on. I did that wrong, didn't I? They're number 33. All right, you know what? Number 33 is actually, it's a really difficult one, and I don't want you to have to worry about that for now. So don't worry about 33, okay? 34, pretty straightforward. All right, so this is your practice. If you still feel like you need practice or you need some help, see if your parents or if you have an older sibling, maybe you can practice some of these with them, okay? Once you're done with all of this, I want you to go on the Google Slides and go to the link that it tells you for the Mastery Connect so that you can get credit for it. And let's see how you do. Good luck.